Class is in session, hitting the books. College basketball show Thursday, March 13th. Ian Cameron, Connor Mack. Conference tournaments roll along. I don't think I've had much sleep the last few nights, but that's okay. It's the way it is at this time of year when you got college hoops afternoon and night, all day long, all night long. Lots of fun, though. I'll tell you what, these games are exciting. These games are fun. You got bets galore, exciting finishes galore, tons on the line for teams that are just trying on the bubble.
Wild swings.
Wild finishes. How about Arkansas Ole Miss earlier? Wow, what a finish to that game earlier this afternoon. But CMAC, the madness has clearly arrived.
It has. Man, these games, it's like some I can only handle. Some, I gotta go. I can't watch. Like I might be dead. Like, of a heart attack on these games. So, but it's a lot of fun watching them. And the good thing is, even when the tournament comes right now, a little bit more too, the tournament will be better because it will be capped out and the games will get down after the first few days. You can bet more, live. Like today, we have all these games to go through. You can still bet live, but it's even, more, where we can watch these and get on certain games, midway in or at halftime, yada, yada.
All right, let's get into it. CMAC, the night action. Obviously, we got lots of games already this afternoon, but all the games we're talking about are taking place tonight. We got one more MAC quarterfinal, Mid-American Conference still to go. Western Michigan against Kent State. Kent State 10-point favorites, 143 the total in this game. The head-to-head matchups, these teams split, believe it or not. Western Michigan won at Kent State as a big dog, and then Western Michigan Kent State won at Western Michigan, but Western Michigan covered both games as a dog. They beat Kent State on the road, and they lost by 1 at home, but they were getting points in both games. If you buy into that series history, maybe 10's a lot here, and I kind of lean to the Broncos here, even though Kent State, they're right there neck and neck with Akron, co-favorite to win this conference tournament. CMAC, what do you think there, the last remaining MAC game today?
Yeah, I mean, Western Michigan, too, seemed like they hadn't beat them in a long time. Split the series. Like, can they score that many in that game? 94 points here? Like, that's nuts. Wow, they didn't even shoot the ball definitely inside. We talked about Kent State just a little bit. Defense maybe not as suffocating, and the offense trying to let it open a little bit. Still, they're a bad shooting team. I got to say that. But they go against these teams like this. In Western Michigan, I'm off here. I couldn't take Western Michigan. I get it. I think they could hang around, but I think also Kent State, could win this by 10 more. They just don't. I can't lay it with them. Let's just put it that way. So pass this game. Pass. Lean over the way they've been, playing a little bit.
All right, yeah.
The other game they only won by 1 too.
Yeah, both games. Yeah. I mean, it's Western or nothing. I think Kent State's going to win straight up, but I mean, you're talking about a lot of points, and Western Michigan's played them tough. So
they've played well down the stretch. Michigan. Yes, I get it.
Point spread machine down the stretch, Western Michigan as well. I got to get to this game because it's going to start in 10 minutes in the Thomas and Mack Center in Las Vegas. If I wait till we do the Mountain West segment of the show, it'll have started already. Boise State and San Diego State. It's a really good one. And I'm not betting it, so I'll throw it right to CMAC because I'm just going to bet. I might bet who wins this game tomorrow in the semifinal.
I think that's a good look.
That's what I'm going to do because I want to kind of back both of these teams. I got futures on both of these teams, actually, to win the Mountain West. So CMAC, anything for you, Boise and San Diego State?
Yeah, if you liked both, I was thinking about that, kind of the winner of this game. Like, you could really look to back going forward, I think. Would be solid. I don't know how these teams score a ton in this game. I just don't. San Diego State, to be in it, has to. I know their defense, some of the numbers haven't been there as the past few years. Last time they met, it was super low scoring. I doubt we get that. But daytime, middle game here, I think points would be at a premium. I kind of think Boise. I think overall they're the better team. It's just, do you want to win by 3 points here? I lean that way. There's a few I kind of today that I like. But, man, I got to really love it here on these neutral courts to be like, we've seen we've seen these teams up by so much, and then it comes swinging all the way back in the second half. Maybe Boise first half, but how do we know here they're going to come out hot against San Diego State?
So I think Boise's the better team this year. Than
Overall, they are. I think so too.
But I don't like laying points against Brian Dutcher and San Diego State in this tournament. It's one thing to fade them when they're laying points, and they had a history
as a dog,
San Diego State of making a run every year, no matter how good or bad they are. San Diego State, when's the last time the Aztecs got bounced in their very first Mountain West Conference tournament game? It's probably been a very long time. So that's something you got to risk betting against if you're going to take Boise. That's why I'm staying off this game. I'm passing, and I'm probably going to end up backing whoever wins this game tomorrow when they're in the semifinal round. All right, let's continue along. Next up, we'll go to the Atlantic 10. A10, there's one more game in the second round left at Capital One Arena in Washington. LaSalle and St. Joe's. Nice little battle in Philadelphia. St. Joe's, 12.5-point favorites, 144 the total. So St. Joe's got destroyed by LaSalle just this past weekend in what was the final regular season home game for Fran Dunphy as head coach of LaSalle, the legend. He's coached every Philly school just about and other colleges as well in his career. Great career. He's retiring at the end of this year. But LaSalle said, you know what? We're not ready for the Fran Dunphy story to be concluded. We're not ready for the final chapter just yet. What a performance yesterday beating UMass. I was on LaSalle in that game against UMass. It's almost like this magic right now. How do you fade LaSalle? It's almost like they're trying to extend the career of their coach one game at a time. They don't want to see him go off into the sunset right now. The only thing that I'm concerned about is St. Joe's is the better team, and they just got destroyed by LaSalle. Maybe it's redemption time, but this is a shit ton of points for a team that's playing really hard. I love LaSalle. Was one of my favorite bets this past Saturday. I'm not on it as big this time, but I had to take the Explorers and take LaSalle plus 12.5. I think it's a spot where, again, they're playing their balls off for Fran. They don't want him to retire. They don't want his retirement party to start just yet. And look, they played better down the stretch. They almost beat George Mason down the stretch, LaSalle. And George Mason's one of the better teams in the A10 this year. So I think it's a competitive game at the very least. What do you think here, Connor?
They did play better down the stretch, LaSalle, and I wasn't on them a ton. At one point, they lost before they'd covered the last 3 or 4. I mean, I think they were on a nice 8-game run where they didn't cover a number. I mean, do you want to take the team? Yeah, that's kind of this run the last 2. It's a shit ton of points. This has already moved a couple points. I hate that they just played and St. Joe's lost. That's like the only thing, because before that, St. Joe's, which I haven't really, this team was a little bit up and down for me, was red hot and covering numbers, which at times I don't think they play enough defense, to want to back them, especially when they've been favorites throughout the years. So I think it's LaSalle or nothing. They could take a beat down. You know what they did yesterday? They got to the free throw line. I mean, some of these games, we get these refs, man, the whistle gets happy, but 29-37, 78%, they could do more of that, and shoot the ball okay. They're definitely in it, for sure. So I get the move. I think it's there. Nothing.
All right, ACC quarterfinals. Stanford, Louisville in one game. Louisville 10-point favorites, 144 the total. SMU, Clemson in the other game. Clemson 7, 142 the total. I kind of lean to the 2 favorites here, and I like my dogs in the conference tourneys, but I don't know if Stanford got destroyed by Louisville when they played during the regular season. Stanford, had to really struggle with a tired Cal team. It took a while for them to put California away last night. Pat Kelsey's a tournament coach. We know all the success he's had going back to his Winthrop coaching days, Charleston, all these places he's coached. He's had success in conference tournaments. Louisville is just the better team. So I lean to the favorites here, and I lean to Clemson a little bit against SMU. SMU, I know they got past and rolled Syracuse in the second half last night, but Syracuse just not very good this season. I'm still wondering how good SMU is. Clemson had no problem beating them the first time. So I actually lean to the chalk a little bit in the ACC. CMAC, those 2 ACC games, what do you like?
This is another one here where they just played, right? And Louisville just beat the shit out of them.
Yep.
20. So I can't. This is one I want. Not both these games. I'll give it a pass. I don't want it flat out here. Louisville. I mean, you just win by 20, and they have the better defense. They're a team that I wouldn't mind backing and laying the points. But I think Stanford can maybe hang around. There's something with Stanford, like, I don't know. They're just fraudulent. They're a decent basketball team, but like, I don't think they're very good. So I think Louisville could take it to them. And the other game, yeah, I'm off.
All right, we go to the Big East quarterfinals at Madison Square Garden in New York. DePaul, Creighton, 12.5-point favorites, 142.5 the total. And Villanova, UConn, 7-point favorites, 135 the total. What do you make of DePaul? Where did this come from? 3-game win streak. When the hell's the last time they've had any kind of win streak, DePaul Blue Demon basketball? But they're on one right now. Now, they did beat Georgetown twice, not one of the better teams in the Big East, and Providence, who had a horrible season. So we can't get too carried away with the 3 victories for DePaul. But Chris Holtmann is a guy that's had some success in the past, and this team is buying in, and they're playing better, and they're playing their best basketball right now. That could be not exactly what you want to do, laying this many points against a team like this, but there is a mismatch. There is a huge gap in the quality of these two teams, obviously, and maybe Creighton just overwhelms them. DePaul covered against Creighton at Creighton the last time these teams played. So maybe DePaul early, if they hang around, maybe they fall apart late. But I don't know. It's a tough game for me. Villanova, UConn, I'm going to sprinkle on Nova here, 7 with the 7. I mean, I know it's Madison Square Garden often is UConn, East, or as they say, UConn invades MSG pretty good. There's always a lot of Huskies fans there. But for Villanova, CMAC, this is like game 7 of a playoff series. They can't assume anything. They absolutely have to try to win a game like this because they're very much on the bubble. They lose this, there's no guarantee Kyle Neptune and the Villanova Wildcats are dancing next week in the tournament. So I expect utmost effort, utmost intensity here from Villanova in this game because this could be enough to get them in if they were to upset UConn. But they certainly could be tempting fate of not getting in if they lose this game to you. So it's a huge game for Villanova, and for that reason, I'm going to take a shot on them +7 in this game. And off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure last time they played UConn, they played them pretty tough. So I'm going to lean to taking the points here with Villanova. CMAC, what do you think here in the Big East?
Yeah, what was that game? You have it up by chance?
Yeah, my page stopped loading here for a sec. Hold on one second.
66-59.
Yeah, it was close. I think it was something like that, close to like a 6 or 7 point margin of victory in that one. Yep.
The first matchup, I mean, DePaul, in this
Villanova
3-game win streak.
First game, yeah, 68.
Yes, by 2. Yep. I remember that game. Both games went under 2, but the first matchup with Creighton, I go under. I mean, DePaul, some of these teams can continue to shoot it as well. The DePaul team that's been awful have been great in the 3-game winning streak. The win against Providence and then the last 2 against Georgetown, who just, fell off a hill, a mountain, cliff towards the end of the year to Georgetown. I think Creighton takes care of this. I think the shooting, especially when they go cold, it could really go down. But it's a ton of points on the neutral. I think this is out there too far because if we get the A+, UConn, I think they could cover this. But we haven't seen it really all year long. Better down the stretch, finally, where they won, 4 straight. But, Seton Hall, Providence, Georgetown, the Marquette was only the big win, and they've owned Marquette.
No.
So I don't know what to make of it. And I get maybe the initial move to them, but, they got Dix here. I think he can hang around Poplar. They need a few more.
He had a good game
from
last
the team.
Poplar, yep, he did. Yep.
He needs to be big, and a few other guys. Brickus, because they just don't have a ton at all. And Dixon probably needs 25.
Eric Dixon's amazing, but you need some support. I agree with
support around him, definitely. So, but his props should be good. I guarantee you his 2.5 threes is juiced. I haven't looked at it, and I a little bit lean under. I would only go first half. In this game, I wouldn't go in the second. So
Yeah, 2 unders head-to-head with Villanova and UConn this year as well. Both meetings went under.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the Big Ten in Indianapolis, the old Gamebridge Fieldhouse, as they call it. Iowa-Illinois is the first game. Illinois 10-point favorites, 165 the total. And then USC-Purdue after that. Purdue 9.5-point favorites, 10-point favorites, 148.5 the total. I mean, Iowa finally, the last couple games, showed up. I wish they showed up, for Fran McCaffrey at the home finale. They didn't. Well, they did, I guess, a little bit, but they blew it to Michigan State. But then they went to Nebraska. Who saw that coming? And they won outright at Nebraska. And then last night, they basically ended the Ohio State dream of making the NCAA tournament with that win last night. They can't get in. And if I see Ohio State in the tournament and they keep one of these really hard-trying mid-major teams out of it, I'm going to be livid. Ohio State has zero business being in the tournament after losing last night. None. Get them out. They can't be in there after losing that game against Iowa last night. I'm kind of with Justin on this one. Illinois destroyed Iowa the last time they played, but Illinois was coming off a couple of losses. I like the over too. I'm kind of with Justin, but I don't like Iowa as much as the over. I think the over, even though it's a really high total, there's probably going to be points here. I lean Iowa. Maybe this is a late season, kind of like we talked about with LaSalle. Fran McCaffrey's done after this season. They don't want to see it end just yet. And it is a lot of points, so I do lean. I just don't trust them fully. I know the moment I hit send and confirm on an Iowa bet, that's when they're going to shit.
They're going to get blown out. Yeah. Illinois plays great.
And Illinois is the better team, no doubt. And then the other game, give me USC. Give me Musselman. Musselman's a tournament guy. He is. Now, the only concern is they had to extend themselves, double overtime last night against Rutgers. So I think I might split first half full game here with USC because they could burn out in the second half after having to go to double overtime with Rutgers last night. But I think it's too many points there. USC keeps it close, and I like that's the over I really like. USC. And how many times, C-Mac, have we talked about USC over on this show all season long, pretty much? And I think that's another over there with USC and Purdue. C-Mac, what do you think there? Big Ten.
24-8 to the over. Purdue, by the way, 18-12. Because I haven't even put bet in for this yet. Why is this 148? That's another. It seems boggles my mind.
In the low 150s is where I had
152. Yeah. That's what I had. Kind of when I have everything. The 151.5, 152. That's where it consistently has gone. Even Purdue, they could score. So I think the over, I mean, how does Purdue not get to 80? Their team total, I think, 79.5, right around there. And SC can score. They still have scores. As bad as that defense is, that can hang around. Both these teams get to the line a decent amount. So the whistle, I've been looking at a ton because we see this at the end of games. Of course, in the conference tournaments, they average 20, they make 15. Not bad, 75%. Same thing with Purdue. They're 73%, make 14, get to the line about 20. So yeah, I've been just kind of like, why is this so low? And it's continued. Oregon, I didn't take that. I was going through a bunch of things. They kind of turned it on. I was a little pissed I didn't lay the 2.5. I'm sure you did. But man, you had Oregon this morning?
I did not. I had the over and lost. I stayed off that game, and I was with Jimmy.
You didn't take Oregon? You didn't lay the 2.5?
I didn't because I was scared of Indiana, this crazy run they've been on with Woodson. It's out of nowhere. And I'm like, and plus Oregon beat them. And believe me, I wish I was on Oregon.
Yeah.
And Oregon had beaten Indiana just recently, so revenge for Indiana. Anyway, I just went with the over, and that lost. It was looking good early, and then they just stopped scoring, and Indiana especially just stopped scoring. So that was that. But anyway, regarding Altman and Oregon, now that I said going into that Indiana-Oregon game, I'm not going to bet Oregon today, but if they win today, I'll be on them tomorrow, and I will be on Oregon tomorrow.
Okay.
This is what Altman does. Going to watch. We'll see Altman Sunday in the Big Ten championship game. Just you watch.
That's why that's good is that I still don't know if they're the best shooting, but when they play defense, they can really bring it, and that's what SC a few games ago didn't do. But all these games just kind of get over, and yesterday found a way, and then there was a bunch of points in the overtimes, but Yeah, this is it's like, how's it not go over here? Sometimes I guess it's too good to be true. That's the only way I could look at it in this game. And
Yeah,
SC could be live. They've had some real clunkers where they have a bad shooting night, and they're so bad defensively they lose 85-63 or some 90. I think they lost to UCLA 90-63,
mhm.
just last week. So that could that still gets you over, but maybe they don't cover. But I think they could hang around too with the scores they have.
Yeah, that I'll tell you right now, because that game's at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. So it's before we do the show tomorrow at the usual time. I can tell you right now, I'll be on Oregon plus the points against Michigan State tomorrow, no doubt. No doubt. That's definitely going to be a play for me. That's what Oregon does this time of year. They just cover point spreads and win games in the conference tournament. All right, next up, we got, as we continue along, Big 12, Baylor, Texas Tech. Texas Tech, 6-point favorites, 141.5 the total. Kansas and Arizona. Arizona, 2.5-point favorites, 151 the total in this one. Baylor, Texas Tech is tough because I could make the case for Baylor. Baylor played really well against Kansas State, but I think Texas Tech just a notch or two, especially defensively, superior. So it's a tough one. I lean Baylor, but I just don't know if I want to fade Texas. I like Grant McCaslin, man. I really like him as a coach in that team and the way they can play, especially on the defensive end. And then the other game, Kansas, Arizona, I'm fading this move on the under. I don't understand why it's going down that much. I think we'll see points. And now we're getting it at 151 instead of 155, which is where it opened. And if I'm Arizona, knowing Kansas had to go to overtime against UCF last night, that game flew over the total. Push that pace. They already play fast. Play even faster. Wear this fucking, they're not deep, Kansas. Wear them down. Push that ball down the court. Play fast and try to wear them out. So it makes sense for Arizona to try to play that way. So I like the over in that. The side's tricky. I think Arizona's the better team. I lean to the Wildcats with Kansas off the OT game, but it is home court advantage for Kansas, obviously, based on where the Big 12 tournament is. But my gosh, they could have lost that game 10 different times, CMAC, last night, Kansas. And at the end of the day, maybe this
Crazy.
is what they are. They're just not that good. So CMAC, what do you think there in the Big 12 tonight?
Yeah, they are who they are. I think a little bit, and of course these two teams just played with Arizona losing. I was
Yep.
glad Kansas had them on Saturday, laid the points with them. This game's just tough for me. I don't have trust in either of them. That game got over. They're late. Maybe the initial move, but Kansas lately hasn't been. I haven't touched their unders. Yeah, I've been on a few overs actually with them in a couple spots. They're just stayed off, and these games have had more points. And what do we get from both these teams scoring wise? I don't know, talented, but it just seems like a kind of a coin flip. And the other game, I want to take Baylor, but I can't. I don't know why. I just Texas Tech to me is the better team up and down. But 6 points, I think they can hang around. In a game like yesterday, it shows and they look great. Like, can they continue? I'm like, wow, this Baylor team can play a little defense. I know K-State could struggle to score. They do a little bit more of that. I think they're in this game. So I was leaning Baylor in this one.
All right. Next up here is AAC.
I'll
Next
be
up.
right back.
Yeah, no problem. AAC next up, American Athletic Conference. Tulsa Temple. Temple 3.5-point favorites, 142 the total. UTSA East Carolina. ECU 5-point favorites, 147 the total. Temple's better than Tulsa. I'm not a big favorite. This is another one where, well, actually, that's not true. I like the dog in the other game, but Temple for me or pass. They're better than Tulsa. That one is Temple overs have been good to me, so I think that one can get over the total. The total's light at 142.5. And then UTSA, I think plus the points. East Carolina away from home, and look, it's actually a solid ECU team. They're a better team this year than they've been the last couple. Mike Schwartz is doing a solid job as the coach. But away from Greenville there, they have not been necessary, especially as favorites on the road. That's not, or away from home. That's not exactly the kind of point spread range that I trust here with East Carolina. So I would look at UTSA. Meet the Roadrunners there now at +5 in that one. We'll get Connor's thoughts on those two games when he gets back. In the meantime, we'll keep on rolling to the SEC. Mississippi State, Missouri, Oklahoma, Kentucky down in Nashville. Missouri, 3.5 point favorites, 156 the total. See, this game, it kind of feels like Missouri hit the reset button time and maybe get back on track. They kind of stumbled down the stretch. They get, obviously, rest advantage. Mississippi State played yesterday, but Mississippi State was damn impressive. They just beat the living shit out of LSU last night. But, definitely going to be a step up in competition here. I think it's a good spot for Missouri. So I kind of lean to them. I like this over, though. Look at Missouri games down the stretch. Look at Mississippi State games down the stretch. Both of these teams heavily trending over. I think almost every game went over with Missouri and with Mississippi State down the stretch of the regular season. So I really like points in that game. Oklahoma, Kentucky. Look, going to be a lot of big Blue Nation there. I get it. Mark Pope and Kentucky certainly capable, but I think Oklahoma is kind of appealing at getting 6.5, especially Kentucky with that defense. It wanes, it comes and goes. So I would lean Oklahoma there and Porter Moser. That's a total, too, where hard to bet the under. It is a very high total, but there should be points in the 160s there. CMAC, first of all, with CMAC back. AAC, the two games, CMAC. Anything you like there in the AAC?
Let's go Texas. Texas going to hold on here and win this game.
Yeah, I'm on Texas and the over in that game. So good shape with both of them right now.
Yeah, 138. Or what number did you get?
With which, Texas?
No, on the total.
Oh, the total was 138.5. Yep.
Oh, you got that low. Oh, good. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Texas, I've been on the overs every game with them. If this goes over, they're 11-1 to the over in their last 12 games.
They've been able to slide over too in some of these,
Tell me
3
about
or 4.
I had the over with Vandy in Texas, and I needed all those.
Yesterday.
There,
yeah. I love it. But shout out to Texas playing some of their better basketball of late. See if they can hang on. This is how I feel about this game. Oklahoma, Kentucky. Kentucky could win this, but. And they have the players, but I just don't see it. One spot where I kept going back to Oklahoma, this total's dropped. Oklahoma games continue to go over. I know it's 160. It did last night again, which I was worried about because they're pretty slow. So is Georgia, but they're so efficient offensively. And that's what we got here. And Oklahoma, they're undefeated on neutral courts this year. I was going through it. I know that was their run early on. I just think they have enough with Fears and everyone else to stay in this basketball game, unless Kentucky gets red hot. And Oklahoma, they've had these bad stretches early in games. They don't have that bad stretch there in this, I think. Just like, what they lose to them by 3 a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, it was right there. They were right there at Oklahoma in Norman, and they almost beat them. Yep.
Yeah, so it seems like Kentucky though could have a big game. Nothing for me in Mississippi State, Missouri. I kind of think that game goes over there. It's been tough for me to figure out Mississippi State, and Missouri's gone a little bit after being red hot back and forth. How about this total? It's close to Tulsa, but if they play with teams that push pace, their games go over. When they play Memphis, when they play all these other teams, when they play Temple, it goes over. When they FAU, they go. When they play anybody else, North Texas, all ECU, they'll stay under. Right. So I just don't buy it. I know it's all on the over. It's at 142, 42.5. I just think it gets over. Temple pushes enough, and Tulsa should be able to score on that Temple defense to get there in the 70s. This one, I like UTSA. This is one of the closest ones that I haven't bet. Strong lean for me. They've been hanging around in basketball games. I think this love for East Carolina is how bad they got destroyed the other day. Yep. They got beat by 40 fucking points, 45 points. They're going to play a lot better. And they've been better at times as a favorite this year, but every time I see East Carolina laying points, I want the other side. So this is UTSA or pass for me. I might get here on this game. later tonight, and it's gone to 5. I don't buy it with East Carolina.
All right, Mountain West quarterfinals, the night session, Nevada, Colorado State. Colorado State 5.5-point favorites, 137.5 the total. And UNLV and Utah State, 8-point favorites, Utah State 141. Nevada, Colorado State, is Nevada going to be one of those teams with lots of talent, hugely disappointing regular season, and then they're going to get red hot? I don't know, but let's be honest. They only beat Fresno yesterday. They're facing maybe the hottest team going in the Mountain West right now. I've got to see it, but at the same time, I could see Nevada maybe making a bit of a run. I just don't know if they've got what it takes against this unbelievably surging Colorado State team right now. So I'm not on that game. And the other one, I like UNLV. I got to admit, +8. I'm going to take a shot there at the Thomas and Mack Center. Hopefully they got a little bit of a better crowd. Utah State, hats off to them, but they weren't supposed to be this great. They were supposed to be a pretty good team, but I think they've maxed out what the roster is on this basketball team. And I think UNLV, I like what I've seen down the stretch, especially as an underdog. Now, they didn't cover against Air Force, but they were laying a big number. I'm talking about when they've stepped up against the better teams down the stretch. Kevin Kruger's team played pretty well and pretty competitively, in most of these.
They should have covered in New Mexico.
Yeah, that's the one they didn't cover. They should have. They were leading.
Oh, I know.
Never mind covering. They were leading a good chunk of that game. And somehow they didn't cover, 12.5 or whatever they were getting. It was a brutal game.
It was by 13.
I'm going to take them here. UNLV +8. I think it's a close game. CMAC, what do you think? Mountain West, right in your backyard.
Yeah, this is, UNLV's had a tough time with them in the past. They split the series here. One thing, if UNLV wants to have success, and since Thomas has been gone, and everyone else has had to step up. Rich Wayne, all those guys in this lineup for UNLV, they got to be better. Cherry, Bedford, Hill, he's going to probably play the full game again because they're just not deep enough. They just have to slow this game down. They just have to slow it down. That leads me to the under in this game. First half under. I think it's a good look, 67.5. Unless there's lights out shooting, which could happen, I think this game goes under. Both teams can get to the line. That's why I wanted nothing to do with full game. And I think UNLV at home, look, they've struggled in the tourney here at home. Like, they've had a decent home record throughout the year. This year wasn't great. They played some better basketball. Where they covered some games but didn't win. You know what I mean? New Mexico, there's a few of them. But I think they're in this game. From start, so I agree. +8, UNLV.
All right, Metro Atlantic quarters, Manhattan, Iona, Mount St. Mary's, Marist. These are in Atlantic City. I'm going to take Manhattan. I know Tobin Anderson took Fairleigh Dickinson to the tournament, and he's been the coach now here for a couple of years at Iona. And Iona's got the talent, but they never put it together. Talk about an erratic team. Manhattan's played hard this season. They've probably surpassed expectations. I like the way they finished the year. I'm going to take my shot with the Jaspers, getting the 2.5, 3 Manhattan against Iona. And then in the other, I lean to the over. I like the over in that game. Mount St. Mary's, Marist. I like Mount St. Mary's. Marist away from home, no thank you. Marist away from that home gym, they really had their issues. So I think Mount St. Mary's actually might be the better team as well. So I think Mount St. Mary's gets past Marist, and I like Manhattan in the over in the other game. CMAC, what do you think, Metro?
I think it's Manhattan there. No way. There's a move to Iona. I don't think they should be laying points.
No.
Manhattan, as soon as they are a dog, you want to bet them. When they're laying 3 or 4, you want to bet. It's just been strange to see, too, the last 2 or 3 years when that happens. I think Marist is better. Mount St. Mary's started playing a lot better down the stretch. They have a team that can score a little bit. I don't trust their defense. Marist, their defense is really good, and that's right. How they've been so good all year. So I'm off in that game. Lean under. I think it could still stay under. Marist could drag this into it could be ugly.
Yeah, no question. All right, next up, we've got Conference USA quarterfinal action. New Mexico, these are good games, these two. These are actually really good games, both of the Conference USA games tonight. New Mexico State, Kennesaw State, Pick'em, 136. I think that total maybe just a fraction low. I'll take my shot with the over there. I've got both of those teams as futures to win the conference tournament, New Mexico State and Kennesaw State. So I don't have to bet a side, and I'm not going to. I would lean, gosh, it's a close game. It's tough. That's a pick 'em for a reason. I'd lean slightly to the Kennesaw side. I like what I saw from Kennesaw. Kennesaw beat Liberty down the stretch. And Liberty, look what they did last night to UTEP. Made me look like an idiot for taking UTEP and on the show yesterday. What a second half for Liberty. Kennesaw just beat that Liberty team late in the regular season at Liberty. So I think Kennesaw, I would lean in that direction a little bit. And then Louisiana Tech, Middle Tennessee State. I like Louisiana Tech here. This is a team that, as a dog now, they underachieved in the regular. This was a team everybody picked to win the conference before it started, and they kind of had a regular season that was disappointing. They were, fourth, fifth place in the conference. This is still the team that entering the year was supposed to be the most talented roster in Conference USA. I'm going to say they put it together, and they go on a run here in the tournament. Louisiana Tech, +2 against Middle Tennessee. We've said this before about Middle Tennessee as well. Great to bet them at home, but they're a little flighty away from that strong home court in Murfreesboro. CMAC, what do you think in Conference USA?
I didn't have a ton in these. New Mexico State was a little bit this year where I want to back them at home. Wasn't as great. A little bit better on the road. There's a few teams like that. Northern Arizona, where they used to be so good at home, were better on the road. I kind of lean Kennesaw. I have nothing there. The other game I lean under here at La Tech. That's where I'd be on. They have to bring that game, slow it down. I think they have a good defense. So does Middle Tennessee. But I think this total was just a little bit too high.
Whack.
We're real quick with Jason. Yeah, it's Dixon. Eric Dixon for the prop.
Yeah, Eric
in
Dixon,
that game.
Villanova. Yeah, over 3.
Yeah, for Nova.
Yeah, good player. Obviously, he's carried the water this year for Villanova for most of the season, no doubt. All right,
Yeah.
WAC quarterfinals, Orleans Arena. Orleans Arena always gets multiple tournaments, WCC, and they also get the WAC, the Western Athletic Conference. Seattle, Abilene Christian, Tarleton State, Cal Baptist. Cal Baptist on a friggin' hot streak, and it's difficult to fade them, but I took a small piece of Tarleton. They are a feisty underdog. They slow it down. They can play some deep. Billy Gillespie's a longtime head coach, has been around the block, very experienced, good in tournament settings. So I'm going to take a shot fading red hot Cal Baptist, take Tarleton there, +6.5. And then Seattle, Abilene Christian. Seattle away from home, I don't like laying, especially laying points with them. I think they're a solid team, but away from home laying points, no thank you. I would look to Abilene in that one. CMAC, what do you think there in the WAC?
Yeah, that's with Tarleton, away from home. Like I try to take them on the road. I back them at home. If they don't win, they're a dog at home. They've covered. Even some tight games, they're catching 6-7 points. They don't have enough scores. They're a young team. They're good defensively. Could get some turnovers. Can that happen? I don't know here today, just because they've been so bad kind of on the road, even though this is, a neutral. I lean under, even with the 127. I don't trust Seattle either. I thought they played a lot better as the year went on, but them on the road, I think Abilene's the better team. I think this line is disrespectful. Seattle, I think, at home beat them by 1 or 2, and Abilene beat them at home, so a split. But I thought this was a little crazy. I thought this line should have been 2. So like that, more around a pick.
5.5 like
Seattle.
This. Yeah.
Not 5.5. And Seattle not played well at Orleans the last few years. Obviously, I see these games. We do these games every year. Abilene Christian been very good at the Orleans in this tournament. So look at Abilene.
All right, Big West quarterfinals. Cal Santa Barbara, the Gauchos, and the CS Northridge Matadors. Northridge 4-point favorites, 151.5 the total, and then the Cal Poly Mustangs and the Riverside Highlanders. Riverside 4-point favorites, 162.5 the total. I like the over, and I think Northridge beats Barbara, but Santa Barbara is one of those teams that historically they always seem to find ways in this tournament to make a run. But I think this year Northridge is the better team, and I made a lot of money with Northridge down the stretch, so I'm going to look to Northridge there, and I like that over. 151.5. Both teams trending that way late in the season. Cal Poly Riverside. Cal Poly, I cashed with them last night, but Riverside really good. I think it's actually the chalk wins both games. But I like the Northridge chalk more than I like the Riverside chalk. C-Mac, what do you think in the Big West?
Big West. Now this one's literally down the street from me. We talk about backyard with the Tucks and Mac, and then the Orleans. This one's just down the street.
I think you've gone to this one before.
I've gone. I was thinking about going to the late one.
Yeah.
The Riverside, I'd lay it. I do. I agree in that one. The other one, I'm on Santa Barbara. This team I had the other day was up by 13 to Irvine, and they gave up 67 in the second half. Just crazy. That's what leads me. I think there's points in this game. I'll leave it to that. Both teams can score. They're at Lee Family Forum, as now they have it, home of the Silver Knights. There can be unders, but when teams get hot, there's definitely scoring. So I think there's points.
But
it
wasn't that Cal Poly game last night? Holy shit, that game just flew over the total.
Oh yeah, like I said, and both these two teams have just been so good and good enough efficient on offense. I think it goes over, especially when they play Northridge. I just have to take this because Santa Barbara's good enough and has the team. They lost both in the regular season. I think they know that. So I'm on Santa Barbara here, +4. I think they went outright, but give me the 4 there.
All right, and before we get to best bets and wrap up the show, just briefly on the SWAC and the MEAC, Alcorn State, Bethune-Cookman in the SWAC quarter, and then we got 2 MEAC quarterfinals tonight. The SWAC quarter is Alcorn and Bethune. I took Alcorn. Alcorn +3. I think it's a 1-possession game, and I like the value of getting 3 with Alcorn State there against Bethune-Cookman. And then in the MEAC quarterfinals, not much on Morgan State-Howard. I could see it being a lot of points, but boy, in the 160s is a high total. Nothing on the side. I think it's a coin flip side type of game. But I do like the other one. I'm going to take my chances anytime I see him as getting points as a dog. NC Central plus the points against Delaware State. Lavelle Moten's a legendary coach. He's been here forever. They always seem to win at least a game or two in this conference tournament every year. And I like the way they played. They gave Norfolk State a really tough time down the stretch. So I like NC Central. I think wrong team favored there. I think NC Central beats Delaware State. Anything for you, CMAC, with the MEAC and the SWAC games?
No, nothing for me here. I lean under Alcorn, Bethune-Cookman. I think that game could be a struggle there. But I couldn't bet either side, I mean, in that one. Nothing for me here. I think North Carolina Central is alive in that game, and it could go over. Howard's the better team. I don't want to lay 3.5 for them. It's not that I'm rushing over to Morgan State. They can score. If they get hot, this number that people thought were a little bit high, of course, in these tourneys, it kind of just goes that way. You lean to unders with it, but these are two teams that could score. At 161, this game, could get over with late fouls and scoring.
This show brought me good luck because 2 dogs that I was on cashed while we've been on the air. San Jose State getting the big number at New Mexico, and Charlotte. How about those Charlotte 49ers? You don't fade.
I almost took them. God, they got me the other day. I thought they could just win at home against UTSA.
Yep.
I like a good bet.
In the over home, we're rooting Eastern Michigan home against Miami O. They're in a tie game right now, 47-47 in the MAC quarterfinal. Eastern Michigan, I took EMU against Miami O. We're on Fordham, George Washington over. That's in good shape. And we passed Boise and San Diego, as you guys know. And it's 17-15 Aztecs in that one. And Texas in the over in good shape. Texas 67-66 lead over Texas A&M with 2.5 minutes to go. Another thrilling finish coming up for my fellow Canadian, the great Dan Schulman and Jay Billis coming up at the SEC tournament there. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Jason W., T. Moss, Justin McKelvey, G. Martinez, Nick Alvento, Ross Pitts, Plus Money 305, Mark A., Timothy Hake, Dram Yankee, Steven Jackson. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Just a couple things about the show next week before we wrap it up in Best Bets. We're going to do tomorrow's show. We're going to, at least for now, we're going to attempt to be on with you at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday this weekend for just a quick little 30, 40-minute show to preview the conference tournament games on Saturday and Sunday. So 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Same thing with next weekend for the NCAA tournament. We'll do a couple small Saturday, Sunday weekend shows.
Quick
for you.
show.
Yeah, at 8 a.m. Pacific. And then next week we'll be on Monday for an overall tournament preview show, and we'll also hit on the NIT games and the secondary tournaments. Tuesday, we'll do the Thursday NCAA tournament game previews. Wednesday's show next week, we'll do the Friday NCAA tournament game previews. And then Thursday, Friday will be off, because who wants to do a show when the tournament's going on, and who wants to watch a show when the tournament's going on? So no show Thursday or Friday next week, but we're going to pack it full of NCAA tournament previews Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday next week. So that is going to be the schedule for the Hitting the Books show moving forward. So hope you're all joining us as always. All right, CMAC, it's that time. Best bets. What do you like here tonight for best bet?
Well, I like their points in that game. I'll just say that in the Santa Barbara Northridge game. But give me the 4. Give me the Gauchos +4. Best bet. I'll put it out here. I'll tweet it out.
Cal Santa Barbara, the Gauchos +4. I'm old enough to remember that soap opera that was on NBC in the 80s and 90s. Santa Barbara and da 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 da. That was the theme song. We better play that whenever someone picks Santa Barbara as a best bet on this show. All right, best bet for me. My gosh, totals have been red hot. Sides have been not so much. So I'm going with a total tonight for a best bet. We're going to go USC Purdue. Let's do that one. 148.5 over the total. USC Purdue over 148.5. I think that game gets up and over the number for best bet. Shout out to everyone in the chat again. Great show. We appreciate it very much. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. And again, we're on tomorrow, same time, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. And then we'll join you Saturday and Sunday for just a nice quick 30, 40-minute show at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday morning, to get you ready for the conference tournament games both days. So looking forward to that. And again, we appreciate it. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share it, post comments, right? Leave your comments.
All that good shit.
All that
we
good
appreciate
shit.
It.
Exactly. Yeah. And leave the comments if you're able to. And like I say, we're trying to build the channel. We're probably going to do the baseball shows that we do, and we'll do a few baseball shows this year right on the channel as well, because CMAC and I love our baseball too. And betting,
especially in the dog days, we'll definitely do something. When it's especially like when the NBA and NHL go in there, kind of July, August, we'll definitely be doing something.
And then before you know it, this channel is going to be college football again. It started back in August last year and August this year. It'll be here before you know it. That's the way it goes. The time flies when you're having fun. That's a wrap. We appreciate it, guys. Hit the like button on the way out. For Connor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll see you tomorrow on Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, for another edition of the College Basketball Hitting the Books show. Until then, class dismissed.